Am I the a-hole for asking my ex and daughter to share food with her other siblings? I have 4 children, 3 boys, 9, 7, 4 with my husband, and a daughter 15 with my ex-husband. I will not lie. My ex and I broke up because of my infidelity 10 years ago, and I was only granted Saturdays every other week for custody. I married my husband soon after. I do believe that my ex has been more than fair to me over the years, and he is one to avoid conflict, which is nice. However, my ex makes 7 figures each year, and I and my husband barely make it month to month. And I am still obligated to pay $150 a month in child support, which is a significant amount to us right now. My ex knew about this, and we worked out a system that he would cover our daughter financially still when she came to spend Saturdays with us. She would send her with money so she could cover her own way. She would bring her own snacks and drinks, so we did not have to feed her along with 3 growing boys. And he would get her breakfast before he dropped her off and dinner after I picked her up. This worked out for a while, but now my boys have grown to resent her. She refuses to share her name brand snacks with my boys, and they have noticed that she does not eat with us, bringing McDonald's with herself for breakfast, and many days orders Uber Eats for herself for lunch, while they eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Then she will also call her dad before she leaves, often asking to go to a steakhouse for dinner. My oldest boy lashed out at me 2 weeks ago, asking why his sister get better food than him, and others have also noticed, and have begun to demand that we also get them fast food and better snacks that we cannot afford. I decided to send my ex a text, telling him about the situation and asking if maybe it would be possible for him to start sending enough snacks for the boys as well, along with maybe having our daughter order them food as well for breakfast and lunch. His response was rudely out of character as he told me that I asked for this arrangement and that under no circumstance was he going to feed my brats. I was a bit floored but dropped it. Well, this Saturday was my day with our daughter. When she arrived, I decided to tell her that she can't bring her breakfast inside with her anymore, and that I want her to start sharing her snacks and ordering food for her brothers as well. Out of nowhere, she lost it. Told me that it's not her fault I cheated on her dad, that I already don't provide anything outside of the court-appointed parenting, and now I expect her to ruin the only thing that makes coming to my house bearable. She did this very publicly in front of my husband and boys as well, so I called my ex then and there and demanded he come back and pick her up. My husband is livid at me for even asking my ex this question, and says I'm doing this to get attention and throw my daughter under the bus. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. You are being accommodated in every conceivable way by someone you screwed over, and you're asking for even more? If you can't get your spawn under control, then don't make it anyone else's problem. I have come to terms with the fact that I made a mistake 10 years ago, as a younger and more narrow-sighted version of myself that caused irreversible damage to many people's lives. I only asked what I thought maybe he would be okay with. I want to find a solution that we all could be happy with at the end of the day. A solution you could all be happy with? That's definitely not what you wanted. There is no way you thought your ex would be happy buying food every week for kids that aren't even his, who were born to a woman who cheated on him. You don't care about him being happy. You wanted a solution that you and your younger kids could be happy with and screw everyone else. And clearly the daughter wasn't happy with that either. Hope he doesn't care about her daughter at all. You're the a-hole. That was an outrageous request. You've had more children than you can take care of. Your ex goes above and beyond because you can't afford to feed your daughter even when it's your turn to take care for her. And instead of being thankful, you resent your ex and lashed out at your daughter. That's just nasty. I don't resent my ex. I just wanted to make sure my sons didn't resent their sister for the difference in living situation. I just didn't know how to go about that. We genuinely have to count pennies some months with how things are. And 6 extra meals a month plus the other costs to support my daughter for those Saturdays could have been the tipping point. I am thankful my ex went along with this, but I just believe that with his money, he would not have even noticed the small extras he would provide to my boys. You're the a-hole. 6 extra meals a month? Are you serious? Those aren't extra. Those are meals for your daughter. Do you consider the meals for your sons to be extra? Do you even realize you have an obligation to take care of your daughter? Do you realize that she and your ex have absolutely no obligation to your new, non-extra family? Next story. Am I the a-hole for taking pictures of my son's clothes he wears to his dad's house? First, I'm not some super picky, spiteful ex who tries to make my ex's life difficult. We have a son, Mark, who is 9. He wears a size 10 or 12 in clothes and size 5 in shoes. Mark never comes back in clothes or shoes that size. Last several weekends, for example, Mark came back in clothes that were a size 6 or 7, where the shirts fit like a crop top and couldn't even button his pants, and they were way too short, and size 3 shoes that he had to scrunch his toes to even get on. I know Mark is uncomfortable and his feet hurt, because he tells me. I've asked my ex Joe about Mark's clothes and he always had some reason. Mark dressed himself. Mark insisted on wearing that. They're behind on laundry. He was in a rush and they didn't have time to get ready until the last minute. If Mark came home to me in clothes that actually fit, I wouldn't care. But they don't fit. Mark can't wear that stuff to school. It's in really shabby condition and clothes are not free. I don't get child support from Joe because neither of us can currently afford to go back to court. And Joe has made it clear without a child support order, I will never get a single penny from him. And if I ever do ask for support, he'd go as far as quitting his job to have no income so he doesn't have to pay. Unfortunately, our custody agreement does not affect child support, and that's a whole separate issue. I cannot legally keep Mark away from Joe. Anyway, I've started taking pictures of what Mark wears to his dad's and texting the picture to Joe with a reminder to please remember I need that back, as Mark is starting to run low on clothes and shoes that actually fit him correctly and are nice enough for school. Joe never responds to the texts, but has told me in person at exchanges that I'm a selfish and petty witch for not wanting Mark to have clothes and shoes at his house too. I've asked Joe to please buy clothes that fit Mark to keep at his place, but he's refused, saying it's not his responsibility or problem. Edited to add, for those saying keep going back to court, court is not cheap, and unless Joe is flat out mistreating Mark, the courts do not care to get involved as they view this as a petty squabble. For those saying get government assistance, I do not qualify. I live by my own choice, in a higher cost of living area to put Mark in a better school, and be closer to his doctors and therapists. For those saying don't send Mark to Joe's, we have a legally binding custody agreement. I can't just withhold Mark. I am documenting everything though. For those saying send Mark to Joe in the clothes Joe gave him back to me in, per our custody order, Joe gets Mark from school every other Friday. I can't send Mark to school in those clothes as it would not be allowed. For those saying get help from legal aid, I'm currently on the wait list. They are still so backed up in my state from COVID. The current wait time is at least a year out. I do appreciate the heads up on how easy it should be to file for child support. I'd been told it was nearly impossible to get it without a lawyer. Not day-hole. The clothes that your son is wearing when he goes to his custodial time with his father is your property, and legally your ex is obligated to return those clothes with your child to you. But more importantly, failing to provide your child with properly fitting and adequate clothing is neglect. He is not living up to his most basic obligations as a parent. This is grounds for having the custody arrangement changed, and this man needs to have that made clear to him. He is mistreating your child. He is not responsible enough to have overnight visitation. I agree. Something else strange is going on there. As a mom, I would not want my kid walking around in too small/ill-fitting clothing, unless that was a style choice they were making. I wonder if the dad is selling the clothes, doing these, or otherwise checked out. Do they have people coming and going? This sounds like daytime visits only territory or even supervised visits. I know Joe is not on these. He is bipolar and has anger issues towards me, both of which he refuses to get treatment for, as real men aren't weak like that. Opie, you know that bipolar disorder can make some people very erratic, and a tendency toward anger is concerning. I would not leave my child with a mentally ill person resisting any sort of treatment. Just saying. I have a sibling with this, and I have never left my son alone with her due to her unpredictable nature. Unfortunately, I can't keep Mark away from Joe. Not legally, as I can't risk losing custody of Mark to Joe. And Joe's outbursts have mostly been geared towards me. The courts basically don't care unless Joe ends up putting Mark in the hospital. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my stepdaughter feel bad for eating all my snacks/drinks? My stepdaughter is 10. I'm 30 female and I have diabetes, as well as other food allergies that prevent me from eating a very large variety of foods that are purchased for consumption in this household. The foods/snacks/drinks that I can eat usually tend to be on the more expensive side, and I have to spend way too much time shopping around for bargains so I can actually eat. My stepdaughter is fully aware that these are the only things I can eat, and we had no problems, up until roughly 6 months ago. I have been in her life for 8 years, so yes, this is a new behavior. So my favorite food and drink is burritos and Diet Sprite. I can't have either of them due to my allergies, and it took me forever to find a brand that I could actually have. But due to the fact that both of these products are way too expensive, $19 for an 8-pack burrito and $12 for a 6-pack of the Sprite knockoff, I don't get them often at all. Maybe once every 3 months or so. I caught my stepdaughter eating and drinking both multiple times and had to sit her down and tell her that I didn't want her eating those, as they were expensive and for me specifically, and offered to buy her regular brand of the same items. She said yes, so I went out and bought them for her, just to find that she still was eating mine and not touching hers. I asked her why several times, and she shrugged her shoulders and walks off or says, "I don't see why it's a big deal. It's just food," and rolls her eyes. So I told my husband to do something about it because he knows my dietary restrictions very well and knows how important not only that is, but also how much I love those specific items and can't have them often. He speaks to her, everything after that seemed fine. However, I just bought burritos and knockoff organic Sprite again yesterday. I went to go get myself some around 10 p.m. when my stepdaughter was supposed to be in bed. The entire litter was gone. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I go into my stepdaughter's room and she's sitting with not only the Sprites in her lap, but 2 burritos as well. This is when I noticed everything else. My green tea sitting on the floor gone. My meal containers that I had packed for work under her bed and on her dresser, when I thought I was going mental because I couldn't find them anywhere. And turns out she has been eating them. I've gone many days at work without food because of this. So I told her I had never been so absolutely disappointed and repulsed that someone could lack that much respect and empathy for another individual and walked out. I woke my husband. He went down and saw everything but came up and started screaming at me because apparently I made his kid cry, and now he is worried about her developing anxiety about eating. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, but this is family therapy time, not AITA time. Something is up with a 10-year-old hoarding food, especially just your food. No need to put up with it, but sounds like you'll need a therapist to work with her. 100%. Something more is going on here and the internet can't parse it. Get her individual and family therapy. Buy a separate fridge. Lock it. Put your food in it. Talk to a therapist. Yeah, this isn't good. Not the a-hole at all. How dare your husband yell at you when you are being left with no food? You bought her her own snacks, and she is still eating yours. Time to get a refrigerator with a padlock on it for the garage. She seems to have targeted your food for whatever reason and is not going to stop with just talk. Not the a-hole, but why is your daughter acting differently now? Something at the school? Jealous of the attention her father is giving to you and not to her? I find it impossible to think that something would suddenly cause a change to occur. Still a little early and abrupt for puberty. I suppose I would inquire about your daughter's problems, possibly dating back to about 6 months ago, with her teachers at school, her friends, their parents, or really anyone. Dad should unquestionably take it seriously as well. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not going outside to see my husband's family when they show up unannounced? My 26 female husband 26 and I have been married for almost 2 years. His family are a very close-knit group, and although they are very kind and giving, it can also be overbearing in my opinion. I grew up very differently, and my family isn't near as close or overbearing. Well, his family likes to show up to our house unannounced. This usually happens about once a month, and it's usually on a Sunday. I personally find this very rude, to show up to someone's house whenever you want and not say anything to them. On Sundays, I don't usually get ready. The house is a wreck. I don't have a bra or makeup on. I don't fix my hair because it's my day to relax. So when they just show up, I have to fly through my butt to get dressed, put undergarments on, run a brush through my hair, etc. It's his dad, mom, and sister, and I don't want to look like crap in front of them. I'm also not that comfortable with them. Maybe it's because I grew up differently. Recently, I stopped doing that. I just don't even go outside to say hi anymore because I simply don't want to. I don't want to fly through my butt. I don't want to see them. I didn't know or ask them to come over, so I don't want to go out of my way to say hi for 20 seconds. This may make me an a-hole, but I feel like it's that hard to tell me you're coming over. Just give us a heads up so I can ready and put something on. The most recent time, they had set up a little gift on our front porch. I had to stay inside because, well, they showed up unannounced that I was taking a nap. My husband went outside to thank them, say hello, etc. His mom asked where I was, and when he told her I was napping and not dressed, she told him to tell me to get dressed and come outside because this gift was for me. So I did. I threw something on, got dressed, went outside and thanked them profusely, but I could tell his mom was upset with me. My husband thinks I'm being rude, but I think it's his family that is rude. It's rude to show up unannounced to someone's home whether you have a gift for them or not. All I'm asking for is a heads up that they are coming. I'm not ungrateful for the random gifts. I think they are nice and his family is very sweet. However, I didn't ask for any of that. I like my space. My husband says he doesn't know how to tell them that without sounding ungrateful, but I feel like they are crossing a boundary here. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She told him to tell me to get dressed and come outside. If she can find the audacity to say that rubbish, then she can pick up a bloody mobile and let you know that she's coming over. This is making me feel so much better. After they left, my husband and I had a small argument over how I was rude and that I should have just came out when he told me they were here. I don't like the idea of his family being upset with me. He wanted me to text his mom, thanking her again for the gift in order to mend her hurt feelings. Is he encouraging his mom to text you to apologize for showing up unannounced? That's rude, and you were not the a-hole. It's on your husband to set the very appropriate boundaries with his family that they let you know they'd like to come over. And make sure they understand that you may say, sorry, not a good time. In fact, I would argue that this is less setting boundaries and more an etiquette lesson for them.